This BOF Live event is brought to you in partnership with Neiman Marcus Group. As one of the largest multi-brand luxury retailers in the U.S., Neiman Marcus and Bergdorf Goodman deliver exceptional products and intelligent services seamlessly integrated with data and technology. Their legacy of innovating and culture of belonging guide NMG's roadmap for revolutionizing luxury experiences. Learn more at neimanmarcusgroup.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's BOF Live event on how retail careers are evolving. I am Sophie Saul, Commercial Features Manager at the Business of Fashion, and I'm thrilled to be joined by Lana Todorovic, President and Chief Merchandising Officer at Neiman Marcus. Thank you for joining us today, Lana.
Thank you.
As an executive at a leading luxury retailer, Lana will share some of her insights on how the retail landscape is changing to meet the expectations of savvier and more selective shoppers today. Stores are increasingly becoming community centers, entertainment hubs, even fulfillment points, as well as integrating digital tools and omnichannel strategies. This is naturally changing what working in retail looks like, whether at entry-level role or in a leadership position. Lana will share how Neiman Marcus Group, which is the parent company to Neiman Marcus and Bergdorf Goodman, is adjusting to the evolution of retail and jobs in this space today. Lana herself has had a varied career in retail and evolving large-scale businesses to drive performance and innovation. Before joining Neiman Marcus in 2019, she held leadership roles at the likes of Ralph Lauren, Global Brands Group, and Calvin Klein. Before we get started, we would love to hear from you all, so please do share in the chat box where you're currently based. We've also received a large number of pre-submitted questions, so we will try to address as many topics from these as we can throughout. But if you did miss your chance to share a question in advance and you'd like to still write in, please do so using the Q&A function in the bottom toolbar to send these straight through to us. Please do use the Q&A function and not the chat function for questions. Otherwise, your question may get lost. If you need some further help, our customer support team is available via the chat as BOF events. But now back to the topic at hand. Lana, I'd like to just first get started by asking you to share a quick overview of your career path in retail and what led you to Neiman Marcus Group.
Thank you so much, Sophie, and thank you so much for your generous introduction. The highlights of my career really are linked to some of the early life decisions that I made, and one of them was to move to New York City from Belgrade, Serbia, which is where I'm from, for study abroad program. And I've stayed in New York City for a couple of decades, and I stayed in fashion for the duration of my fashion career so far. So when I say I stayed in fashion, that really means that I actually held positions in a very different, diverse segments of the business. So, for example, I spent most of my career on the wholesale side, which means working for brands. You mentioned some of them. I was very, very fortunate to work for some of the best, most iconic brands, such as Calvin Klein and Ralph Lauren. I was at Ralph Lauren prior to coming to Neiman Marcus. And being on the brand side, really the kind of audiences that, and then your business partners are retailers, such as Neiman Marcus, which is where I'm today. So that's a specific wholesale area of the market. And at Ralph Lauren, I was the president of North America Wholesale, which meant that I was overseeing, areas such as, merchandising and buying and planning and marketing for this very important channel. And that was for both stores and online. But I also, as I said, in terms of diversity of experiences, worked for Global Brands Group, which was actually part of the $25 billion Hong Kong-based company, which is where I really got exposed to the global stage and, run businesses across 60 different countries on all of the continents, 250 retail stores, and really had to sort of stretch and learn a whole different area of the marketplace. Main difference being that I was now dealing with the global consumer as opposed to the US-based consumer that I was dealing with at that point in my career. And the business partners and audiences that I had were largely global and very different than what I was dealing with before. And that brings me to Neiman Marcus, which is on the retail side. And so with Neiman Marcus being on the retail side, is really working with brands and working with all these constituencies in all these areas of the market that I worked with before in my previous career. So if I sort of step back and look at it, it was sort of like a building blocks that all built on the knowledge of a particular segment, and really allowed me to keep learning these different areas for what really became almost like a 360 view of the fashion industry. And all of these experiences really came together at the right time, because when I joined Neiman Marcus, it was only a few short months before the pandemic. I actually just situationally, and what was happening with the pandemic and everything else, I ended up being on the leadership team, and part of the leadership team that was actually leading the restructure of Neiman Marcus, which was an extremely important process and, emerged successfully in 2021. But during that time, I really got to do what I love to do, which is innovation and transformation, but very connected to execution. So that was the time also where, these important pillars of the strategy, such as integrated retail, relationship with the customers, investments in technology, really all came together. And executing on those strategies really led us to, for fiscal 2022, have the highest revenues, profit, full price selling, majority of stores with the highest levels of performance in the history of Neiman Marcus. So
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for that overview. That's really helpful to have. And also, I think just sort of thinking about the last 4 years since you joined, and as you said, in the couple of months leading up to then the pandemic hitting and global lockdowns and everything else, all the other disruption that I won't overview that everybody knows of in recent years, retail really bared a very heavy brunt of all of that disruption. So what are some of the key challenges and changes that physical retail experienced during this time?
At the time when I joined Neiman Marcus, there was already a drumbeat of this sort of general idea that department stores are in decline, they're challenged, and some very sensationalist headlines even went as far to say that department stores are dead. And 4 years into the tenure, I can say that I agree with the premise that transactional, uninspired, department stores continue to be challenged. But this crisis was also an opportunity, which we seize, which is to really transform, reimagine, and truly revolutionize what these experiences will look like. So out of that insight, or I would actually call it instinct as well, because it was both, we knew that the customers really wanted to engage differently once they came back to the physical stores. And I had a conversation with leadership of Prada, and we decided to do something unique. And what was unique is that we wanted to create this dreamlike environment for our customers when they come to our stores. And part of it was doing this 3,000 square foot installation in our North Park store in Dallas, which was basically bringing Italian Mediterranean coast to Texas. So what that meant was that this experience was extremely immersive. This installation was, as I said, 3,000 square feet with LED crashing waves, with a sparkling sea on the walls. There was a real sand. There were real gelato carts with real gelato, and and certain lifeguards. And of course, incredible exclusive products across men's, women's, kids, even pets. And all of this came together in this really incredible, immersive, multi-sensory experience. And, we were at capacity. We couldn't, have any more people than what we had. And as I was standing there on that floor and looking at the sort of a joy and engagement and delight of the customers coming back to physical retail, I knew that we were on to something and that we were really unlocking a certain potential that hasn't been unlocked in its full glory, by no one else at that time. And so we also confirmed something that we already knew, which is that relationships matter. So these authentic ways that we connected with our customers really were extremely special, and they continue to be a building block of our strategies going forward.
A couple of things that you've just mentioned there, is this idea of, I believe you call it retailtainment, isn't it?
Yes.
Internally, and trying to really engage and create that sort of community hub and environment for your consumers. And one of the questions that we received in advance was about how you turn your store into a community center and build a strong customer base that way. You've obviously just given a lovely example of working with a brand and doing that. I just wondered if there's anything further that you would add in terms of advice on how it is that somebody would approach starting doing that.
So I think, if you think about it, we are sort of at the center of connection. So we are there to connect our customers with their sales associates for a very important relationship. I think that, our data shows that the customers that are in the relationship with sales associates spend 12 times more. And often those are the lifelong sort of relationships and friendships often that exist. And I think that's the point of differentiation for Neiman Marcus, because for us, and this is something that I felt extremely strongly about, it was really about relationships. It's not about transactions. And I think that customers feel that as sort of a coming into the family, coming into the community when they walk through our doors, or we'll talk about this in a minute, engage with us digitally. So that relationship is very important. It's not about consumption, it's about connection. And so I think that we built really a powerful sort of force of 10,000 sales associates that are in a very deep relationships with our customers. And that in itself became a community. And then another very important element, as I said, we are the center between, customer sales associates and brand partners. We have close to 2,000 brand partners and, have partnerships with the most iconic, most global, luxury brands in the world. So making that connection, how we connect brands with our customers through our sales associates, it's really became transformative for us, because it wasn't really about, the wholesale and retail and direct to consumer. It was really, we were all on the same mission to create a community with the mission to bring the most delightful product, fashion, connections, and really transform the way that we go about that. And I think that that's what the retailtainment is also part of. And that's been also a big game-changing way that we introduced our clients.
So you mentioned numerous times there the word community and how important that is. And obviously a critical element within that too is about evolving the community that you have amongst your retail staff too, and working closely with them. And a key topic that our senior correspondent, Sheena Butler-Young, has covered at BOF in the past is about the labour shortage, which is another critical challenge that has been particularly hitting the retail industry in recent years. And one of the pre-submitted questions that's come from our audience is about how do you improve retention for retail staff? And I just wondered if there's something that you could speak to in that respect.
So, there are a couple of things that come to mind. One is, if I think about the kind of most important ways that we participated in the evolution of the industry, one of them was that during the time that our stores were closed, we were already working on this proprietary technology called Connect, but because of the need to get in touch with our customers who were at home, we greatly accelerated this technology and were able to have millions and millions of interactions as well as transactions with our customers during the time when our stores were closed. So Connect became a very important way that our sales associates, which is the population we are talking about in stores, were connecting with their customers and really being enabled and empowered by data to actually make better connections and better decisions and better engagements with their clients. So I think that this was an incredibly powerful moment, and for really the industry, because in fact, we created what we now refer to as a third channel. If you think about it, when you think about retail, we think about stores as physical, then we think about online as digital. But this was a third channel, that became very important, and certainly something extremely important for retention of our sales associates, who really found this to be a very powerful tool in deepening those relationships with the luxury clients. And I think that at this point, 20% of our net sales actually it's either digitally enabled or digitally transacted or started on top of the 30% or more that we do actually online. So that's just one of the example of the ways that we partnered with our sales associates, who are in essence, these wonderful entrepreneurs. And I think that's what's really changed, is that they became entrepreneurs of the, running the ecosystems of their customers. And we have been able to provide them with the tools to do that in a much, much better way. So that's one example. And then certainly there are other examples, as I mentioned, and I can talk a little bit more about retailtainment as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd like to hear a little bit more, actually, whilst we're on the topic of some of the tools that you empower your associates with, about Stylize 2, a program that I believe Neiman Marcus Group acquired in 2021.
Yeah, so that was the part of our digital focus and enablement, and for the record, I think we do greatly believe in integrated retail, and that has been an incredibly successful formula for us. So as the environment was swinging from, as I said, the stores are challenged, or everything is going to be online, I think we held steady belief that it is actually about the integrated approach, because customer today likes to shop wherever, however, whenever they want to shop, and we are there to actually enable that. So as much as we have invested in digital, Connect is one example, Stylize is another example of our acquisition on the digital front, where it's powering really the way that we put product offerings together, and makes both Connect assortments as well as our assortments online that much more powerful and that much more personalized. We also at the same time invested $300 million in our stores, or the physical environment, keeping this ecosystem and this balance of both, and using technology and digital sort of as enablement to continue to deepen the relationships. Because at the end of the day, the goal of all these channels and all these approaches is to provide more personalized and more targeted and more engaging way to really be in the relationship with customers.
Before we move on to how all of this is evolving, what the actual sort of retail role is and sort of career path and how that's changing too, can we first talk about, whilst we've been talking about sort of the immediate strategy that you have and the focus that you've had in recent years in terms of investment, a little bit about Neiman Marcus Group's strategy and looking ahead to the future, and where it is that your sort of focus is for the future within the retail industry?
So I think that in terms of the future, technology certainly continues to be a very powerful tool for the future. We have demonstrated that through a couple of examples that I have just shared with you. Data is also incredibly important. And so really this using technology and data, we are in the process of it. I don't think that anybody has actually figured it out completely, but we are on this journey and really focused on how do we integrate this data in the best possible way, whether be to be more engaging and personalized digitally, or whether to include those insights that we get into all of our investment decisions. So certainly some more traditional functions of merchandising, marketing, and others have had to really evolve pretty significantly, and to really use the full power of data to move forward, what is really the customer-centric approach. And I can't say this enough, but the customer is really at the center of it all. And our job, and that's been the biggest difference, and I think the biggest success that we had, is to partner with our brand partners as well as our sales associates as to how best to really empower this customer to make their own choices. Gone are the days where retailers were actually telling customer, what's important and what to do. Certainly inspiration is important, but I think that really satisfying that customer desire, anticipating it and making it personal is really where we found success. So having said that, the relationship mattered greatly, and I think we touched on this also a little bit earlier, is that, in addition to the science part, I think art part continues to be extremely important. The role and the importance of creativity and emotion when it comes to curating our assortments continues to be important, because we believe that emotional connection and curation is certainly a lot more powerful than just endless stuff that you find. So that's sort of one area, is like really not overcorrecting on the technology side or on the on the creativity and emotion side, but really using data and technology to power the connections and the connectivity with the customers. So that's sort of on one side. And then certainly, the ESG, so important to our customers and to really what we want to do as leaders of the fashion companies today. So I think a lot more work needs to be done by all of us, but we have, just as an example, just completed the exit of fur, selling fur and all of the fur products. We have launched Fashion for Change, which is really a program where customers can vote with their wallets around what matters to them and what values they would like to support. So there are different lenses of that, about giving them a choice to what they care about, whether it's sustainable materials or responsibly manufactured or diverse, or brands that give back, on products that are transparently produced. Like they can see all of that, and they can vote to what they really would like to support in terms of the attributes that are important to them. And then personally, as well as Neiman Marcus, and I think that the entire industry really needs to pay attention to the future generations that are coming into the industry. And personally, I'm extremely passionate about this. I've been on a board of Fashion Scholarship Fund. Neiman's has been very involved with Fashion Scholarship Fund, which it brings the new generations into the business with focus on diversity. We have supported the Virgil Abloh's foundation within the Fashion Scholarship Fund. We have graduates of that program working for us today, and we've taken it a step further and really instituted our own named scholarship within the Fashion Scholarship Fund umbrella, which is really focused on those professionals at any point in their career that are interested in sustainable and ethical fashion. So we have just announced 10 of our scholars that we will be supporting this first year. So these are just some of the examples where I think, the fashion is sort of focusing on for the future.
Sure. And within that, I just want to bring it back to the sort of digital piece that you mentioned at the start of that explanation there. And a huge question, a huge number of questions that have come through is very much focused on the sort of next generation technologies that seem to be evolving at pace in the industry and how it's being utilized. And we've had, students write in asking about how to prepare for it. We've had buyers and merchandisers writing and asking, how to integrate it into their work today. what is your view on sort of artificial intelligence then, and the next generation of technology that is coming in and very much shaping the future of retail?
I've given a couple of examples of how we use artificial intelligence to power some of the technology and what impact that has had, on the way that we personalize our reach to the customers, as well as, work with each other internally. And I think that, you just came off of the summit where this subject was really discussed in a great length. But, I think that there are limitless opportunities in us exploring artificial intelligence. You mentioned how some of these technologies are really incorporated in the merchandising and marketing processes. I think that we've been on that journey as a company, and it's been really embraced in the right way, because it's quite empowering and quite fun to really create what I think is extremely important for the future, which is this ability to connect all of these dots as we lead towards answering, to the needs and desires of the consumer, and doing so in a way that will not just provide them with what we know today, but also continue to explore new technologies that will give us some new ways of engaging with them. I know there was some talk at your summit about, metaverse is knocking on our door through gaming and other things. So I think that there's a lot of exciting things that are knocking on our door. But having said that, I think there is still a tremendous opportunity within our industry to really integrate what we already have, and then make the connections within all of the areas of the 360 approach, and make that into this very powerful flywheel that will really propel us quite nicely forward. So the message is like we still have work to do with what we have today, and we have all these exciting things on the horizon that, if we continue to innovate and transform, and I talked about this also, very importantly, execute on, right? Because I think there are wonderful ideas out there, but I think the execution is the key. And so we have plenty of opportunity to do that today. And it's an exciting moment, I think, for any area of the market that you're in.
Very exciting. And there's also so many different solutions that are being created out there across all these different platforms, as you've just alluded to. But that also means that, there's a lot of AI, Web3, next generation technologies that have the potential to impact on the trajectory of careers in fashion and retail that can be a bit daunting to others, I think, and can find it an intimidating sort of next step in their career, and trying to understand and get their heads around it. And one of the sort of questions that came through from an audience member is, how is it that you are supporting your employees who are less comfortable with the digital transformation in retail? And I'd also mention that this person referred to sort of more seasoned employees, but I think I'm inferring from that they're maybe not from the digitally native generation, and maybe looking to understand a bit better how to integrate those sort of touch points with tech.
It can be exciting. It's certainly possible. And I think the best way that we've had in onboarding, populations at different stages of digital nativeness to some of these really innovative ideas was to, really, provide proofs and provide experiences that will lead them to then embrace it, because it's making it more effective. It's making their jobs better. They can see the results pretty quickly. I think the way that we have integrated data, as I said, in our buying decisions, certainly was a very powerful way to really know which customer segment and which customer behavior we can drive by making certain choices on certain categories, on certain brands, and equally sort of what marketing magic can we create if we are doing it based on the incredible technology and data that we have, and then seeing those results, I think is the spark. I think the results, the proof is in the pudding, one would say. So seeing the sparks and seeing those proof points and those early wins, I think was something that helped us move the populations forward, because once you see that something is working, you get more and more buy-in as to how to move that forward. And we've been at it for a couple of years now, really transforming. As I said, we made pretty significant strides with some of these technologies. So it's actually, we are at the stage where we are really thinking about now what's the next level. So it's a wonderful, it's exhilarating, it's scary, it's powerful, it's all of it. But at the end of the day, it's really leads us to making a much better decisions and having a much better results.
Trusting, as you said, the proof is in the pudding, basically.
Yes.
So thinking then a little bit around some of the areas we've been talking about in terms of how it is that the retail sector is evolving with this evolution in omnichannel, and as you were mentioning about joining all the different dots together and having this really holistic workforce working together, how is it that you've seen retail as a career path changing since you started out in the industry and in recent years?
Yeah, so it's interesting because my career path was not actually typical. So I was more a pioneer in what we now know is sort of one of the most effective ways to get to this level in this area, of expertise where you can really see a more holistic picture. And so I, really, by being in these different segments of the market, by basically catering to the customer on all levels, not just luxury, international, national, retail, wholesale, I think, digital, stores, like all of those experiences, I think, are extremely important and were important for me, but were not typical, at the time when I was building my career, and still at this point, not as typical, particularly in luxury. I think we have an opportunity to do more of that. And I think we have an opportunity to also venture out of, even the fashion industry into other industry, whether they are adjacent or not, and to really take this, what I really believe in, which is collective wisdom, is really the most powerful human power you can unlock. And that comes through these different diverse approaches. And I'm not talking just about diversity in the sense that we are all talking about, in the classic sense, but also in diversity of thought, diversity of experiences, backgrounds, etc. So I think we're going to see more and more of that. And we should see more and more of that. I think that there's the beauty of this fascinating world we call fashion is that, you can be a lawyer and be in fashion. You can be an accountant and be in fashion. Of course, you can be a designer and be in fashion, but you can be a data scientist and be in fashion, as we go forward, or you can be a technology expert, or you can be a platform expert, or you can certainly we're going to need a lot of ESG, expertise as we go forward. And as all of this gets complicated, we're going to need more and more people that know how to navigate organizational structures in terms of people services. So I think that this is probably the most exciting moment in the fashion industry, where all of these opportunities have opened up. And, you can really take all kinds of different approaches, as you pursue your careers in fashion.
A couple of questions that have been coming through on the chat is around trying to get that very first entry level role and literally getting a foot in the door. Is there any particular, obviously, working in retail, a very common way in is an entry level position, and working your way up is on the shop floor. But is there any other ways in which you would recommend to those who are asking in the chat how it is that they would get their foot in the door in a first job?
It's kind of more and more difficult to get the foot in the door, because as exciting as this moment is, it's also, quite competitive, and, the business is going through different waves, and certainly last 3 years have been a study in like highs and lows. And so for people that are coming into the business at this stage, I would say just be extremely persistent and keep keep looking at different opportunities, keep talking to people. If you are in that stage of your career and you are with us here today, kudos. Learning, persistency, and then really taking the opportunity when it comes, really giving it your all, I think is something that I've seen, people that are entering into their first jobs has been really successful. And then continuing to find your way through the organization, the mentors, and continuing to really be open to learning. It's sort of almost magical how that approach leads people into the next level and the next level and the next opportunity. But be open and be persistent.
Speaking of those sort of soft skills to bring to an entry-level role, I guess if we're thinking more in terms of managerial or leadership levels as well, what are the kind of core skills, soft and hard skills, that are expected of retail executives today?
So I think the hard skills, depending on the areas that the pathing is from, really needs to have this deep understanding of connection of this like sort of a flywheel and this ecosystem of technology and art and science, and ways to really make that extremely powerful, and really paying attention to the most incredible asset that we all have, which is people that work for us, right? So having that flywheel at the very top of the company, where the culture, as well as vision, as well as those, the human energy all sort of comes together. I've seen that propelling companies forward. I think in terms of the, some skill sets, like everybody talks about agility, and I agree. I mean, if anything, the last 3 years have showed us that whatever we thought we know today may be very different tomorrow. So this constant kind of willingness to ask questions, to ask not why, but why not, to be constantly open to different ways that we need to move forward as the environment around us has been changing, and to again use the old saying, like the only constant is change, right? So the agility certainly as a skill set becomes extremely important. But I would also say that with that comes a very important skill set for leadership roles, which is ability to focus. Because there's so many different things out there, so many shiny objects that we can all run after, and there is a danger in that as leaders, we will be focusing on too many things and then executing mediocre or not at all on number of them. So I think that this ability to focus and this ability to create a path and pick fewer things better. And as a matter of fact, now that I'm thinking about this, it's actually for all levels, right? Because we all can get distracted and unfocused. It's really important to then pick what those priorities are, stick with those priorities, and see them to the execution. And then importantly, and this is also on the sort of the soft skill side, is this really this ability to create trust. Because I think the trust is such a core of the cultures that are able to embrace, all this innovation and all this transformation. The execution part comes from all of that, and the basis of this is trust, whether it's the business partners that you're dealing with, or it's your coworkers, but that trust really unlocks incredible potential with teams. And then just embracing diversity and really advocating for it on all levels. I think those are just some of the characteristics of the leaders of tomorrow.
Something that you mentioned earlier, there was a word that I'm going to pick up on, which is about people trying to stop people from getting, distracted and staying focused and all of that. This is a bit of a leap in where I'm going now, but a lot of people are working from home now, and expecting to work from home and bringing all of the distraction and stuff that they have to the workplace and staying engaged is incredibly difficult when you're trying to engage your workforce at home. So a question that actually came through from somebody, a pre-submitted question, was about how it is that you motivate people when they are working from home, when they are in more of a hybrid remote working capacity, and wondered if you had any advice for them.
Yes, I think working from home can be motivating and demotivating, both at the same time. There's also a danger of not just getting distracted, but then also overdoing it, because there isn't really separation of home life and work life. The way that we went about this at Neiman Marcus is through WOW, and WOW really stands for ways of working, which meant that, you know, the integrated work life, which is really what we all have been living through, I think longer than just the last few years. It's probably gone for quite a few years. We just didn't have a very good name for it. But, you know, we were trying to balance working life when in fact it's completely integrated. And this work for home is just highlighting how integrated this is. So the way that we are really working together and keeping our people motivated is that if you do, it's really flexibility. It's this idea that you need to be flexible to be able to tend to your personal life or to your kids or to your sick parent or something like that, but also giving them an opportunity then to connect when there's an important project to work on. Then everybody comes to the hub and everybody comes to the office and you put all your heads together and you do wonderful creative work. Where if you're just going to sort of sit at home and do emails, then maybe that's a better place to do that from. So I think that what we are really trying to do is provide opportunities to deeply and truly motivate by having those in-person, interactions for those occasions that really are uplifting and give great results, and then giving people flexibility to do the rest sort of at their own schedule and within their own framework.
Lana, I'm conscious of time and the fact that we are coming towards the end of our session. So I want to just pose one more question to you, which is about what you are excited about for the future of working at Neiman Marcus Group.
I'm really excited about, continuing to create the connectivity and this flywheel of all these different initiatives, technologies, and strategies that we have in really continuing to work on this integrated way and really seeing how far can we go. I'm extremely excited about this whole concept of retailtainment. You mentioned it. As a matter of fact, the term came from one of these sessions where I was trying to explain to the students that there was what we were doing is retail, but also entertainment. And then the word retailtainment was such a perfect way to describe it. We touched 1.5 billion impressions with the 20 retailtainment opportunities that we have. That's like redefining what retail is about. And it's from Burberry that wrapped our Atlanta store facade, which was never done in the history of Neiman Marcus, in their logo and with all kinds of activations related to their launches, to, Brunello Cucinelli, who designed Muse of the West, Western inspired collection, where we took our audiences to actually outside of the store, to a working ranch outside of Dallas, to, incredible collaboration with Balmain, Mattel, Barbie, and Neiman Marcus. The opportunities are really endless, and that really is the platform that we are using for this truly integrated approach, because we have in the 20 that we've done so far of these really immersive experiences, they have not just touched on and really been powered by our remote selling channel, but we've created both digital and physical way that customers are now engaging with us. So it's basically, sort of like walking the walk of the talk of how does it all come together and all these conceptual ideas that we have. So, having this incredible sort of convergence of data, technology, creativity, art, and connections and relationships is really what we call, these revolutionizing luxury experiences. And that's what I'm really excited about continuing to do.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your time today. It's been fantastic talking to you. To our audience, thank you very much for joining us today for this BOF Live event. I hope you have a lovely